Hello and welcome to another edition of the Movie Kit podcast. I'm your host, Kit Bowen. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about the latest Pixar film. Actually, it's a sequel, Inside Out 2, which reunites some of our favorites from the first film and also introduces some new blood to the thing. So let me read the description here. um Follows Riley, our favorite little girl, as she enters into puberty and her teenage years and encountering new emotions. Like I said, it reunites Amy Poehler and Phyllis Smith and Louis Black as joy, uh, anger, and sadness, or sadness and anger. Some newcomers coming to the scene are Maya Hawke as anxiety. And we've got Tony Hale replaces Bill Hader as Fear, and Liza Lapira replaces Mindy Kaling as discussed. But we also have Ayo Edebiri. How do you say her name? Ayo
From the bear?
Edebiri. Yeah, from The Bear. She's
Yeah,
Envy.
that's
She's
it.
Envy, and then we've got I know this French actress. Her name's Adele. Oh boy, I don't think I'm going to be able to get her last name. Anyway, she plays a very funny new emotion called ennui. But
Ennui.
anyway, ennui. Like I don't care about anything. Basically, very French. Um, well, I'll let you start us off. Oh, well, let me just introduce you first. Joel Amos, my very good friend. He's going to join us in the discussion here from the movie Mensch. So, Joel, what did you think of
Yeah.
Inside Out 2?
I liked it. I liked it. I enjoyed the experience. It went by like nothing. Honestly, I- I'm not surprised that they produced a sequel, of course, because of its success and its lasting appeal to generations that have moved through since the first one came on, or a generation. Um, it just that it took a little longer than I expected, but it just seemed like a natural fit. I mean, if these are the
Right.
emotions and it works so well as a queen, my gosh, what was the potential for the teen? And so, sure enough, here is what we get.
Hmm.
And of all the emotions that the creative forces behind this could have chosen for a teen, particularly a teen of her age at this time. I think Riley's age. I think they nailed it. I just think they nailed it because I think if I know Disney and some of the free release tours that we've taken, like they just throw everything at the wall and then they like there's a room and they discuss it and they come up with it's always about what's best for the story and I feel like that was one of those rooms where like okay, what emotions could we get when we're 13 or 14? Probably needed a couple of whiteboards, but
Yep.
they narrowed it down, and then I gotta say that was my chef's kiss. That was perfect. But I enjoyed it, and I think it was necessary. Obviously, I think particularly in animation, some of these sequels, you're like, I'm sorry, what? Out of the Woods 2? Are you kidding me? Um,
Yeah.
but like Inside Out 2, like I work it. It works for me. And if I had to kind of just real quick right now to pick a favorite of the new emotions, feelings. And I just love her in general. It's just my Hawke, his
Yeah.
anxiety. And I love her quote recently, and I know we talked about this, Nepo baby, and
Yeah.
her reaction is just kind of like, and I mean,
Yep. She's great. She really
I
is. And
love
I,
her,
I
love her.
she was probably, yeah, of course, obviously she's going to be our favorite because that's a predominant
Yeah.
emotion in a young person's life as they're starting out. I think my favorite part was when the puberty button on the console is just kind of blinking red. Red, they're like, oh no, oh no, and then it goes off like a fire alarm and everyone's like, yeah. I think this was such a natural progression that a second one was almost needed in a way. Um, Pixar has always been very good at sequels. I mean, they haven't all hit, but certainly they've hit big time with things like Toy Story. Um, but this, it just, yeah, and it didn't pander either. It didn't, try to recreate anything that happened in the first
Mm,
one. It, it
just
it it organically grew and developed as a new story, but also a familiar story because we already know the five main characters, the five main emotions. We've already know that. We've seen the world, and the universe of it. And so being in that world again was just as much fun. And it expands even more, which I fully appreciated. And it is such a hard time in every person's life, whether you have kids or you don't have kids. Every single person on this planet knows what it's like to be 13 years old. You know, um, I feel like there's been several movies that have really highlighted this horrible time of everyone's life. Because it really is. It's a really hard transition from being a kid and loving all the kid stuff to trying to be like a cool teenager and to grow up. And it's not an easy thing. And I felt they really, really portrayed that beautifully in this. And Riley is a cute character anyway, just
Mhm.
as a person, and it's like you get to know her all over again. And I just
Mhm.
yeah, and the idea that she's a hockey star is also very cool.
Mhm.
It's kind of different, and but certainly the new emotions adding in just add to the whole story. I think maybe for me, I don't want to say anything negative against the film at all because I think it's a great movie, and it's a great movie for families to go see together. And I had a bunch of kids in my screening or the showing that I went to, and they all loved it. But I mean, I think maybe it lacked a little bit of the bittersweet charm that the first one had. Um, while I was appreciative that I wasn't bawling my eyes out like I
Yeah.
usually do at a Pixar movie. That first one with the imaginary friend, I was just bawling. But I think that maybe that's why I love the first one just a little bit more, just because of that aspect to it. But doesn't detract at all from what this story tells and Inside Out too. And I think that Pixar is they've been struggling a little. They used to be the bar. It's like, yeah, Pixar is up here and everybody else was down here. They were the bar to reach back in the day, but they've had some missteps now, and
And others have caught up.
huh?
And others have caught up.
Yes, and others have caught up. Exactly,
DreamWorks
exactly.
Animation for one.
I mean, they couldn't. They look. There was a time when I mean, John Lasseter running Pixar and all of that sort of lightning on a bottle type thing that happened
Mhm.
when Pixar came out on the scene with Toy Story and then all the great movies they came out after that. I think that it's hard to recapture that magic. Things have changed. Things have evolved, and like you said, competitors and other companies have done just as good as movies as Pixar. But I still think in my heart that Pixar's um, uh, concentration or whatever on story is still monumental in what they produce. They besides from maybe Lightyear, which was a complete disaster. Although I didn't hate it, but not the best, not the best. Didn't
The
need it.
definition
Not
of unnecessary.
exactly, exactly. They're still the best at storytelling. They are one of the best at storytelling with their animation. So, um, I'll always bow down to Pixar. Just how
Well,
many wonderful movies they've come out with. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, there are a couple things about Pixar itself. They um stressed for many years that they wouldn't do sequels. I mean, this has been a while
Yeah,
now, but
yeah,
and then that was their reason, is that it was the whole lightning in a bottle thing,
right.
and also their commitment to story, and on these trips that we've had to Pixar and their
Yeah,
junkets in general, it's just unreal. On Disney as a whole, like their attention to detail is immense. Is that like bad example, but still a good one. Is it's like for Frozen, they went to Norway and like they spent like a
yeah,
month there, and they immerse themselves in the culture, and they ensure that every little corner and triangle and everything is just Moana, the same thing. Like They spent a
Yeah, but that's
year.
Disney. That's not so much
Right.
Pixar. But yeah,
But
but it's the
Pixar
same.
was like that for I
Yes.
forget what junket I was up there for. Um, but again, I think several things with the first one versus this one is that, also not everyone in the first one can relate to the moving aspect. I mean, some people like stay in the same city, K through 12. So,
Yes.
but
Yes.
that added an emotional element that I think really helped the first movie. And
Yes.
there was also the angst of the tweenness that was starting to encroach on her life that I think really filled it with more not power punch. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yes.
Like
Yes.
emotional oomph. And I think in this movie, all of that's already established.
Hmm.
And again, not taking anything away from this movie. It is still like the most delightful movie that Pixar has come out with in years, let's just say.
Yep. Yep.
And I just think, again, it's a bit of the lightning of the bottle in the bottle again, because it's like, no matter what you do, it's going to have to be different because those two
Yes.
things are missing,
Yes.
and like teen world is I mean, it's landmine filled. So, they were fine with all of that. But I just think those are unconscious things you head into the theater with that I think our listeners should kind of be aware of, heading
Yeah.
in. Like, you're not going to be disappointed if you know that you're not getting, literally
Inside
inside
Out.
out.
Yeah.
Right. And
I mean, what
it's,
Inside Out did was create this world, and that was what was
mm,
so magical about it. It was the whole concept behind it that I just found so appealing. The idea of the
yeah.
emotions in your brain and how, you've got all these little compartments in your brain, and just
Hmm.
all of that was just so wonderful and
Hmm.
original. And I remember when I wasn't necessarily all gung ho about Inside Out when I first saw it. I don't think, well, maybe I
Hmm.
saw a trailer or something, but obviously I didn't know what to expect. And that's
Right.
always, a good thing. If you don't know what to expect, and then you're just like, wow, this is so good. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's why this second one, while being an amazingly great second story to tell about this character and and her growth, um it just, yeah, you already know the world, and I was happy to be back in that world. I'll have to say that. I
Sure.
mean, I was absolutely
Sure.
just pleased as punch to be right back in Riley's brain. And and
Hmm.
there was different parts that you see now, and I liked all that. I loved how, because obviously the first one, she's a preteen, but still there's a lot to her that needs to grow, and you grow a lot when you go between being 13 to 18. I mean, these are years that really, honestly, those are the years that formulate you as a person, really, as an adult person. Like, what are your values, what are your goals, those kinds of things. That's what happens from the time you turn 13 to
Yeah.
to being an adult, rather than being
And
a
I
kid.
and I think there's another aspect here that's touched on that I don't think a lot of early teen movies really hit on is except maybe Easy A, is the evolving relationship with your parents.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they were so integral to the first movie,
Yeah.
even though they weren't sure why she was so upset or moody or whatever, was going on. Um, this one really establishes that and how,
Yeah.
you shift from, I mean, she really didn't, she had her friend back home. She was just making friends in San Francisco. Like
Right.
here, like you said, she's established. So like, and it's natural that you take more advice and you listen to your friends more than your parents. But I'm
Yeah.
really happy that they kind of wove that through this tapestry because
Hmm.
that's a real, and again, Pixar, they
Yep.
make it real. They make it so real that they remember things that others forget,
Yeah.
and they don't have to hit you over the head with it. They don't. They
No,
just,
they don't.
as long as it's, you haven't forgotten, like,
Right. But
so
the one
and
thing, oh,
yeah,
go ahead. Just finish what you're going to say. Sorry.
no, it's kind of something new. So you go ahead, please.
I was just going to say that as sequels go, it's always a tough thing with sequels, right? But for whatever reason, and I don't believe that they can keep doing this because, the story's probably played out, but Toy Story
Mm.
this is a situation is it's an anomaly because I can't think of any film franchise beyond maybe a sequel where the films just keep getting better. I I I can't think of anything like what Toy Story accomplished. I mean, the fourth film, maybe they finally kind of just flattened out and wasn't necessarily better, but it's still great, but not, but those first three movies were just one after the other, just incredibly.
Action.
I just couldn't, I just didn't understand how they could do that. I mean, that was just such brilliancy that they continued the story of these characters, but then just each film just added upon it and was better. It's it Pixar will always have that. No matter what
Yeah,
happens to the company or what happens to what they do, moving forward, legacy wise, they will always have that. That they
and
created a franchise that was so brilliant that each film on its own is just an amazing film.
yeah, and they, and when you've gone there, it like you realize why,
Yeah.
every employee is. I've never been to a place where more people are on the same page
Yeah.
in a business situation, and it's extraordinary. And I can see why they've always resisted moving to Southern California. Like they should stay where they are, and they know what they're doing. And these things are really pressed upon you, and the story is everything. And um, it just is such a wow, incredible situation.
I
But
know. I
I
know.
think the thing I was going to mention before is the other voice that picks out really gets me is, of course, one of the ones that stuck when the grenade went off with all the emotions and tweens is embarrassment. I mean, you can't
No.
talk about teens without talking about embarrassment. And I know he's a delightful person, but I couldn't be happier because he was perfectly cast. But Paul Walker
Yes.
Hauser is
Yeah.
amazing as embarrassment, and
Yeah.
that
Doesn't
could
say
have
a
been
lot.
no, and it could have been a really tricky casting too.
Yeah.
And it's such an integral part of those years. Even to this day, in some
I
ways,
know. I know.
so like, who's going to be this voice? And again, they just nailed it.
Yeah, they did. They did. And he had a little special relationship with Sadness, who Phyllis Smith from The Office.
Oh,
He's perfect. He's perfect
she's
for that.
amazing.
And of course, Amy Poehler once again just knocks it out of the park.
Oh,
She's just
I wondered if I'd remember this. Like, seriously, let's like forget the Inside Out world ever existed. Okay. And I came and I said, all right, we're making an animated movie. Somebody needs to voice the emotion of joy. Don't ask any questions. I can't tell you what it's about. If you had to pick one person to signify the voice of joy, who would you think of? I
I
mean,
know. She immediately
right?
pops in your head. Yes, 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 yes.
So, like, I
And
just,
I've seen some very funny TikToks with her recently, promoting the film with her and Maya Hawke. And there's a
mm,
there's a there's a trend or a soundbite that goes, "Who are you?" Well, I'm the one who's coming in. I'm just coming into this house. Who are you? I'm the one who owns this house. But just the way she and Maya do it's very funny. Yeah, no. I've always said this and I will continue to say is that if I ever met the woman in real life, we would become best friends. No, it's true.
and I can imagine that picture too, like sisters almost. Like, it's funny.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
she's my favorite. So anyway, what rating would you give Inside Out to? 1 to 5.
I don't want to knock it too much because of the sequelitis, it ended up being different, but I'm gonna go 4.
Okay.
I don't think I can go quite 4.5. Um, because there was
I think
something
I
again
am going to
about the
go
original.
I'm going to go
I,
4.5. I do.
you know
I'm
what?
going to give it
Forget
that
it.
extra half.
Yeah, I gotta go 4.5. Who am I kidding?
I
I can't keep
know.
using the word, perfect, amazing, and incredible, and then go
Yeah,
4.5. I'm sorry. It's just
4.5. It's not quite the first one, but it's close. It's
right,
close. It's
right,
close.
right. And um, we haven't got a chance to talk about it, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, but have you seen The Hit Man yet?
Uh, let's save that for next time because
Okay.
I
Okay.
want to see it. I want to see it
Okay.
definitely.
Okay.
So we'll talk
All right.
about it. I
Okay. Well, then
definitely
I
want to.
wanted to let people ready, to let our listeners know about two other things. And we can talk about these later too. Two of my absolute favorite shows are back within a couple of weeks. Started last night are The Boys
The
on Amazon.
boys.
I've already seen the first few episodes. We can chat about that later. And The
Yep.
Bear returns at the end of
Oh,
the
the
month.
bear. Well, I gotta watch second season. I'm kind of
Okay.
far behind on that one. Also,
All
House
right.
of the Dragon, folks.
Yes.
Coming on
June
back.
27th. June 27th
Oh,
for
I
The
thought it was
Bear.
this Sunday. No, June 27th. Oh, but the House
No,
of the Dragons is this Sunday,
House
I
is
think.
this week.
Yeah, yeah,
Boys
yeah.
is on now,
Yeah,
and The Bear is the 27th. So
got it.
uh, just as Hollywood starts giving us theatrical releases, we want to see streaming says, hold my beer. Um,
Yeah, we're excited. I'm planning
so,
on supplanting myself this weekend and watching a bunch of stuff.
so
Also, Bridgerton, the second part of Bridgerton
yes,
also dropped,
yes.
so you got that
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, lot of good stuff coming up. But we
yeah,
may have to take a week off, Joel. I'm
yeah.
traveling again, but I think when we come back, it might be The Quiet Place day one.
Well,
Day
yes.
one of The Quiet Place. So that
Some
might be our next
interesting,
one.
similar but different kind of conversations about that too.
Yes, very much.
But
Well,
always
thank you
good.
so much. Yeah, thanks so much, Joel, for joining us. And
Thanks for
you
having me.
guys, yeah, definitely go check out Inside Out too for sure, and take your kids with you. You're gonna really enjoy it. Everyone, take care. Bye bye.